Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Forum Americas is brought to you by Metallo Royalty and Streaming.
Silver is playing catch up to gold. Hello and welcome to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris, here at the 2025 Mining Forum Americas in Colorado Springs. Joining me today is Michael Steinmann, President and CEO of Pan American Silver. Michael, welcome to Kitco.
Thanks for having me.
Silver is having a golden moment, if you like. It's poked its head above $42 per ounce. It's gone up considerably in the last few weeks. Let's start there. Why is silver suddenly making its move?
Yeah, look, I mean, we were waiting for a long time for that. Obviously, silver always comes a little bit late to the party, and so a big run in gold. Silver a bit slower, always comes later. Why is that? That's your question, obviously. A lot of people ask me that question. We see a lot of demand on the industrial side for silver. About 60% of silver is used every year. Industrial uses mostly for electronics. Solar panels, obviously, the biggest single use of silver. So there are a lot of very modern uses of silver in the electrification. But in order to push silver really ahead of gold, you need also the investment demand, which is normally it's a small amount. It's not a lot of silver available anymore for that. But when it comes in, it makes silver run. And I think that's what we start seeing now. And that's what brings that silver-gold ratio down and makes silver outperform gold.
Now, central bank buying has been driving the gold price. When you talk about investment demand in silver, are we talking about central banks as well? Because obviously a silver bar in value terms is considerably bigger and heavier than a gold bar.
Yeah, it's not really the central banks buying. It's smaller investors to buy silver. I don't think there's a lot of silver buying by big banks anymore, and central banks. Most of them divested all their silver they had in the 90s and 2000. But there's only about 150 million ounces available for the investment side, and that has to feed the ETFs, bullion buying, etc., etc. So it's not a big number. And when investors come back, which we see right now, you see these big moves in the silver price.
Now, one of the sort of key metrics that people look to is the gold-silver ratio, which is the amount of ounces of silver that an ounce of gold will buy. At the moment, it's about 86 to 1, which is about 30% higher than the historical average of 60 to 1. How, when and if do you think that ratio will revert back to that historical average?
Right, and look, the lowest actually I've seen was about 30, 35 to 1. That's really the combination of very strong industrial offtake and a lot of interest from the investment side, and that brings it way below the average. The worst I've seen is probably at the beginning of COVID when we had like 120 to 1, when there was just no interest at all for silver, and gold was the only thing that was of interest. So I think what we see now, as I said, the industrial demand will be strong. I think we see a lot of electrification, a lot of silver uses for your computers, for your electric cars, you name it. And then, still a lot of investment in clean energy, of course, that will go on. So the industrial demand is increasing every year. And I think now if we have continued interest from the investors, I think we will see that silver-gold ratio coming down, maybe back to the 60, maybe even lower than that.
And do you think that will be because the silver price continues to increase or because the gold price comes down?
No, I think the silver price will catch up. I really don't see a lot of reasons why gold price will come off right now.
Other CEOs in the space talk of triple-digit silver pricing. Is that an opinion you share?
Look, I'm not really careful putting out predictions for the price because it's really there are other people. It's their job to do that. My job is to produce the ounces as low cost as possible and bring them to the market, and hopefully reward our shareholders for that. Look, I mean, I think we're going to see all-time highs on the silver side. We're not that far off, about $8. That seems easy to reach. If we go to triple digits, we will see. But I think we're going to see a very strong run here on the silver side.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit more specifically about Pan American Silver. You produced about 5.1 million ounces of silver in the second quarter, 179,000 ounces of gold. Your share price is up 80% year over year. Your market capitalization has grown to $15.5 billion. And your cash balance also topped $1 billion in the second quarter. A lot of good numbers there. What have you been most happy about in terms of your company's performance so far this year?
Well, it was not only that this year. I mean, it took a number of years, obviously, to grow the company to this size. I'm a firm believer of stronger, bigger companies that can withstand not only the high, it's easy in the high prices, right? We can all do well in the high metal price cycle, but the big companies that can easily withstand low prices as well, still make profits, still return dividends at the whole price cycle. And for that, you need a strong, bigger company. And I think that's what I try to do. That's what we built over the last few years. And I'm really proud of that. And you see the results now. It took a lot of work to get there, a few big transactions to get there. But now we see the benefits of it. And you mentioned the numbers. We can add a few more. We have $233 million free cash flow for the quarter. We increased our dividend by 20% again. And we have a dividend policy in place that actually depends on our net cash. So when the net cash increases, our dividend will increase automatically. That's already set. So good returns for our shareholders. But as I said, we need these long life assets, low cost, so that we can provide all that positive return to our shareholders, not only now when silver is at $42. Of course, it will be easy when silver hits $50 or $60, but when silver comes back down, we want to provide that as well. And so that's kind of the idea behind, and I'm really proud that it looks like we're getting there, or we achieved at least a few milestones on that way.
In terms of your dividend policy, I'd like to sort of focus on that for a moment, if I may, Michael, because having a varied dividend policy gives your shareholders full exposure to the ups and downs of the metal price, which presumably is what they're investing in your company for anyway. And yet that's quite unique because most companies have a fixed dividend policy no matter what the silver or gold price does. Right. And given that investors want exposure to the metals prices, that seems to be, a little bit short-sighted or not necessarily fulfilling the desires and the needs of shareholders. So why is it that Pan American has chosen this route when pretty much everybody else doesn't?
Yeah, look, I mean, net cash is, if we do well, our shareholders should do well. We invest a lot of money from time to time in our business. There will be less cash available. Our shareholders will be happy to do that for a future reward and put their money in. They're happy with a bit less dividend. But then when everything goes well and the cash balance increases, I think the dividend should automatically increase. So that's what our shareholders are looking for, right? And that makes sense. I mean, then for sure invest because they want to see that, invest in us because they believe in higher silver price. If not, they will buy something else. There's a lot other businesses available there, but when you want to invest in silver, I think Pan American Silver is the company to go to. And when times are good and the cash balance is increasing, I think automatically there should be a bigger return to our shareholders.
Excellent. Well, I think more companies should adopt that approach. In addition to increasing shareholder returns, the higher cash you're generating, what else does that enable you to do or look at in terms of your sort of capital allocation strategy, investing in projects, investing in exploration? To what extent are you able to accelerate some of your plans?
Right. Look, the first and foremost is always keep a strong balance sheet. For me, the fact that we could do what we were able to do in the last 8 or 10 years was really, we always had a strong balance sheet, keep low debt levels, have a strong balance sheet, be able to react to opportunities when they come along. And, for that you need cash on the side. When it comes to M&A opportunity, you need the cash when you have internal opportunity. We made a world-class discovery at La Colorada that we want to build out, that requires cash. So a strong balance sheet allows you to do all that. We want to have enough money to spend what is needed on the exploration side to replace your reserves, your resources, and hopefully, as I said, make a big discovery. So having a strong balance sheet is number one. Low debt. It's very important. This is easy to take on a lot of debt in this market, but when the market comes off, you want to have a clean balance sheet, so it's very important to be there. Next one is investment in high-quality projects. Own projects or projects that we purchase have to be high quality. You need the capital to do so. And then the last one is return to shareholders. And we paid dividends since 2010. We returned over $1.1 billion to our shareholders. This is very accelerated now. We returned actually $103 million in the first 6 months of this year. And this will continue, and it's very dear to me and to the company to provide a shareholder return. Doesn't matter where the metal price sits. There should always be room for some kind of a dividend to our shareholders.
Okay, let's turn to M&A. The silver space has seen about $5 billion of M&A transactions in the past year, 3 transactions. And in terms of, as you phrased it, when opportunities come along, an opportunity certainly came along for Pan American Silver. You bought Mag Silver for its 44% interest in the standout Juanicipio mine in Mexico. Congratulations there, Michael. Juanicipio has a 56% operator, and that's Fresnillo, another very, very large silver producer. I think for a lot of people there, it was quite a surprise that Pan American was able to sort of come into that project when it is operated by one of the world's largest silver companies and the operator of the mine. How did that particular transaction come about?
Yeah, look, I think it made a lot of sense. It's obviously one of the best silver mines out there. It's in the Fresnillo district, which is the biggest silver district on the planet. And you have a very big operator. It's, Fresnillo is not only a big silver producer, it is the biggest silver producer in the world. We are the second largest primary silver producer in the world. They work in Mexico for a long, long time. We work in Mexico for over 32 years as well. It made sense to do something together at one point, and I think it made a lot of sense to start developing a high-quality asset like that with 2 strong operators. I'm very happy to be there, even as a minority partner with a very, very strong operator, solid mine builder, solid operator that knows Mexico in and out. And I'm very, very happy to have partnered up with them. And I think there's hopefully more opportunity out there in the future.
Fresnillo's got a great position in Mexico. Do you see opportunities to co-develop projects or something of that nature with them elsewhere in Mexico in the future?
Yeah, and look, hopefully maybe even in other places. I think, our industry has to get a bit away. You see that in oil and gas. You see it on the gold or copper side, especially when projects get very big. You have companies going together and, lower risk by developing assets together. And I think on the silver space, we haven't seen that yet because a lot of silver assets are relatively small. We have a few gigantic silver projects in our portfolio, obviously. So does Fresnillo, and I think it makes a lot of sense to reduce risk and go into some of the big projects together, and looking forward to that.
Now, Juanicipio is one of the lowest cost silver operations in the world. What will that do to your performance going forward?
Yeah, look, it will increase our silver production at the moment by about 34%. It will substantially lower our silver all-in and cash costs substantially. And I think it will be very interesting. I mean, we have 4 months left of the year here that we see it, so not a full year impact yet. But next year, when we go into our budget and forecast for next year, I would assume that it will lower our silver cost overall in the company for the full year next year. That will be very different. I assume most people will show higher cost next year. Not a lot of cost drivers yet, although we see high metal prices, but inflation runs worldwide probably in the 3-4% range. So showing bigger production at lower cost next year as a silver producer would be just great for Pan American.
Where else do you see growth in your existing portfolio?
Well, funny enough, it's the big one obviously in Mexico as well. La Colorada, world-class discovery. We may be below La Colorada, our biggest or now second biggest silver producer. We call it the skarn. It's a huge, pretty a base metal deposit with a lot of silver in it. A very long life asset. It will be in production for many decades, so that's a long life. And a longer term development project for us in Mexico, but a very big one will be our biggest mine in the future, for sure. And then the other one is Jacobina in Brazil. Funny enough, it's actually a gold mine that we acquired through Yamana, but it's probably together with Juanicipio, one of our strongest cash flower. And there's a lot of opportunity there to expand production as well. So really looking forward to those very large opportunity for us.
Okay. Primary silver deposits are very rare, and the 3 best juniors of their generation, as we mentioned, have been bought, which was Mag, Silvercrest and Gato Silver. You've got in your deck that you're looking for other acquisitions as part of your growth strategy. So what are some of the emerging companies or deposits that you're keeping track of that you think may be part of that next crop of great silver projects to acquire?
Yeah, look, I mean, we run normally a whole big list of companies that we are interested. I think I look at M&A a little bit different. I don't look at M&A what is available today. I look at M&A and opportunity. I look what would be a good fit and what would be a perfect addition to our portfolio. Sometimes it's available, sometimes not. Sometimes it takes a while until it's available. I think it happened with Tao, it happened with Yamana. You have to be patient sometimes, but I think it's the right approach. You have to look at the quality first and not just what is available, A. And then B, it's not always just silver. Sometimes it's a mix of silver and gold. Sometimes it's a mix of silver and base metals. You don't find silver on its own. It always occurs in geology with gold or with base metals. Hence, we have the same kind of mix. And so I'm not just focused only on silver companies, but it can be, like in the Yamana case, a gold company that produces a lot of silver. That is just a great fit with assets in Latin America, all in our backyard. That made a lot of sense. Wasn't available at the beginning, but, after a complicated transaction, actually, we were able to add it to our portfolio. So I always focus first on the quality. I have a long list of companies. I don't want to mention really or single out one here, but it's not only silver companies, but it's any kind of company that has high-quality assets that produces some silver would be, a feasible target for us.
I think one of the interesting things that comes out of your comment there, Michael, is the fact that it's about making money rather than perhaps sticking to silver per se. A number of silver companies produce a lot of gold, yourself included. How important is it to still have to maintain silver in your name? Is there a premium because you've got silver in your name or because you're perceived as a silver producer?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. We have the largest reserve in silver in the world. We have the largest resources of silver. We have the largest, some of the largest assets in production, some of the largest projects for the future. So we are the silver company. I really see it as much. We are the most liquid name in the space. So that silver name is very important, and it reflects reality. All the reality right now is that there's more revenue coming in from gold than from silver. That silver is incredibly important, and it's a niche for us. It's a crucial metal in the world for electrification, and we provide a large part of that for the world. So it's very important to have it there. But there's a lot of different ways as well to make money in this space with mines, and the combination of silver with gold and silver with base metal not only gives you a great hedge, but when gold prices run ahead or base metals go, because we have very strong economies, not right now probably, but maybe in a few years again. So that hedge is very important to us, and I think keeps us as a company way more balanced. So the silver name will not disappear from our name.
Fair enough. Now, as mentioned, you completed one of the main transactions, silver transactions, over the past year or so. There are a couple of others. How do you see the competitive landscape in silver evolving going forward?
As you said, it's a small market. It's quite a competitive market, and it's very hard to find large deposit. We have a few deposits that maybe for the future to develop, large ones in Argentina. Obviously, we're still working in Guatemala. So there's a large amount of sizable or world-class deposits already in our portfolio. So I don't need to go out and purchase something. We have enough projects to develop internally at the moment. It's really when opportunity comes along, we're going to be ready to move. But of course, the higher the prices go, the more difficult it gets to create that really accretive transaction, right? When you look back, the transaction we did in 2012 with Tahoe, where silver was probably at that time around $12, gold probably at $1,100. Yamana in 2019, gold was at $1,800, silver still sub 20. It's way easier to structure an accretive transaction and way less risk than when you come in at a higher level. But at the moment, I think we are not at the top yet, not even close. And so I think there are still opportunities that are interesting out there.
With those couple of big projects you have in your portfolio, Escobal in Guatemala, Navidad in Argentina, to what extent does the conversation around those projects change with the higher silver price? Because obviously at higher prices, the potential economic benefit to those countries and those communities can be substantially greater.
And of course, and that's not lost on people's mind, right? They look at this, and its governments look at it and say, well, it's, in the place of Guatemala, for example, a big percentage of the tax revenue that it could provide. That's not lost on politicians and governments, and I think that's worldwide the case. And I think that makes this kind of projects even more attractive for those countries, not only for the government, of course, for the communities around who can get a bigger share of it and, receive way more opportunity to develop their community, their education programs, their job growth, etc., etc.
So what will it take to get those projects over the line and in Escobal back into production, in Navidad into development?
Right. Look, in Escobal, I think what we follow is a consultation process that the government is doing with an indigenous group. It's not really in my hands, it's in the government's hands, and that has to be completed. So it's just it takes its course. It's probably a bit slower than I expected or I hoped for, but it's moving ahead and has its meetings, etc. And so that's not under our control. But I really would look forward to bring that mine back into production. It's just such a great asset, very strong producer, would nearly double our silver output at low costs, and of course, as we discussed, a huge return for communities and for the country. Argentina is a bit a different story because it's not built. It's a very large deposit far south. There is a ban on open pit mining. It is an one of the very few rare open pittable silver deposits. And as long as the ban is in place, obviously we cannot develop that asset. It's great to have it in our portfolio but that's obviously a political change. People have to change their view on open pit and change that. As soon as that happens, I'm ready and happy to develop something, but it's really not in my hands to make that. As I said, it's a social and political change that has to happen in the country. That's out of my hands. It's in the hands and the decision of the people in Argentina.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground during our conversation today, Michael. So let's end with perhaps you can tell us about some of the key catalysts coming for the company over the next 6 to 12 months that our viewers can watch out for.
Yeah, look, definitely more upside and news on Juanicipio. I think it's very exciting to include that and incorporate that in our portfolio and see what that can do to Pan American. I think more updates on La Colorada, on the skarn and how we develop that. We have a few very interesting ideas. We just published a press release 2 weeks ago where we showed a few exceptional veins that we discovered at La Colorada. But probably change the timing of everything a bit, makes it even more interesting to develop that skarn. And then sure, keep your eyes on Jacobina, because that's a great asset. A long life. I think we have a mine plan until 2049 right now. Keep replacing reserves. And so will be very interesting news coming out there and a potential expansion in next year.
Well, congratulations on a great 2025 so far. Michael Steinmann, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And we have a lot more to come from the 2025 Mining Forum Americas here in Colorado Springs, so hit that subscribe button. I'm Paul Harris, and this is Kitco Mining.
Kitco Mining special coverage of the Mining Forum Americas is brought to you by Metallo Royalty and Streaming.